Good afternoon, everyone. I will be representing Team 3, consisting of myself, Mutahar, and Alexandre. So this is our contents for what I will be presenting. So I will first start with the problem definition that are given to us. To put it briefly, we just have to create a solid modular application onto mobile devices. So how do we do this? First, we have identified 3 challenges that are presented to us. First one is by adapting the geometric modeling concepts into mobile devices. Second one, due to the memory limitation of mobile devices, we have to select key features that are not resource intensive. And lastly, we have to provide an intuitive and responsive control for our application so that it can be used easily. So with some research, there are already solutions from some papers and articles online for these 3 challenges. For example, for geometric modeling concepts, we can have a client-server interaction where all the processes are done on the server side and we just have to request them. Or we can use a third-party engine, such as Unity 3D or maybe CAD kernels to develop our models within the app. Then what kind of features are not resource intensive, or how do we solve the resource problem? We can either have local visualization techniques such as selective rendering, or we just have to select simple features that are not resource intensive. Then lastly, there's a paper which emphasized the importance of the mapping and the interactivity and the presentation of the GUI of the mobile app so that it is much easier for everyone to use. So we also researched some competitors such as Morphe, which is a 3D design app, primarily for the iPad. Other mobile devices is not compatible, but it also have a computer version, but for mobile devices, it's only for the iPad. Then there's also SDF 3D, which is a 3D modeling tool, but I'll explain that later. And we also have OnShape, which is a more parametric, more professional modeling tool, which have cloud access. So to explain, first, Morphe has to explain the key features. Morphe has a 2D and 3D creation and capability, as well as but it's using shape and object libraries. And it also has capability to export to 3D printing, as well as VR and AR. So as you can see, this is the GUI, simple GUI design for Morphe. But Morphe is mostly focused on creative design and not engineering design. Then we have SDF 3D, which uses the soft edge 3D design tool, or so they claim, which is their own technology of producing 3D models. And this program is also using a grid control-based technique to create their models. As you can see in their 3D models, there are like obvious grids where you can select each grid, then create further models or features into them. And due to these features, SDF 3D is known to be non-memory intensive. And it allows for more freedom in editing. However, it has the same problem as Morphe, that it lacks accuracy for engineering use. Then we have OnShape, which we were introduced to. This is a more professional and industrially designed app. And it also has accessibility through cloud for mobile devices. However, due to its high performance, it's kind of memory intensive. So with all that in mind, we decided on our project goal, which is we will have our main features, or primary features, which is first creating 2D profiles or 2D sketches of 3 basic shapes, basically a triangle, circle, and rectangle, where we can then edit the parameters of these shapes, such as the lengths. And then we should be able to extrude these 2D shapes into the 3D solids. Then for our secondary features, we will add, for example, a sweep feature or additional modifications to extruded solids. Or we can also create new features from existing 3D surfaces where you can create 2D sketches on the planes of the surfaces for a more variety of shapes which you can create. So with all that said, we compared our products to our product to other competitors on 3 functionalities which I think is within our realistic scope. The first one is how we create the solid model. So our project, our goal is to just use present objects, editable present objects, which is kind of on the realm of Morphe and SDF3D, and not as accurate as Onshape. Then our data exchange capability is not something that we prioritize, since so far we're just focusing on the creation of the app itself. Then our memory usage is intended to be light. So comparing with the other products, our product should lie between or around Morphe and SDF3D, and not as advanced as Onshape. So how do we create our product? The first one is to first script the 2D profiles, maybe using Visual Studio and Unity 3D. We will set the mathematical formulas for these 2D profiles, which maybe we can edit angles or certain length parameters to create more variable shapes within these shapes. Then we will put the concept of extrusion to our 2D profiles, where the user can maybe input their desired length or maybe the direction of the extrusion. And we will then have to test this through Unity 3D along with Visual Studio. And lastly, we will have to create the GUI. So our target GUI is to be intuitive, simple, and responsive. So we have to take extra attention to the button input control arrangement, as well as the gestures for from our hands. So these are just the basic details of our project. And for our job allocation and schedule, we will first start maybe prototyping for practicing for the creation of the models and the sketches itself before the midterm presentation. And then after that, we will have to create the actual product. We will have to focus on creating the actual product. Me, I'm in charge of the creating the basic code of the shapes, while Mutahar is in charge of the integration with the mobile devices, and Alex will be the leader for the GUI design and implementation. And these are references for our resources. Thank you.
SF3D, what in the comparison table? S3F SDF3D. It is a sculpting engine. Like it can make the face of a person. It is not a parametric.
It's not exactly sculpting. You can create, and it's not exactly parametric either. You can create parameters or for rapid prototyping, but it's not as accurate as using parametric.
Actually, all the scripting engines have the capability for rapid prototyping as well as parametric engines. So it may not be a good comparison, because in that scenario there are a lot of applications.
So they have the basic shapes which you can use and then edit, for example, a sphere or a square, 3D rectangle.
Primitive.
Yeah, print preset projects which you can first click.
Any other? No?
So you guys will use gestures to edit the preset objects or commands or something?
No, for that level of input, maybe numbers. Gestures is mainly for maybe zooming or perspective tuning.
Okay. For your presentation.
So you mentioned the server, sorry, server and client process. You mentioned server and client. So your team also used that method, or just
no, these are just like some solutions that existed for
the
those
one-off
problems.
solution?
Yeah, one of the solutions. So for our team right now, we're just considering using the third party.
Yeah. So I heard that. I worried about. I think that is too hard. Okay, and you also introduced the 3D app 3D, and in that slide, you said that app used a low memory.
Yes.
So did you search about how to, why they use the low?
Mainly because of their this first two features. It's their own way of creating 3D models. Their
Well, I think in case of controlling the large point, the grid control base. So that means, I think that means the control some points or some grid.
Yes, everything is edited like within the grid, large grids, and not maybe tiny meshes or coordinates. I think that's how they are able to save many resources.
And the last one is one of your main feature is extrude. So do you have some plan for creating extrude by hand, or some type number in the screen?
Maybe a slider with a number, for example. Slider with number.
How about to select the sketch and draw the hand gesture like that?
Maybe that's
Slider.
possible. Maybe we can put that as our secondary features.
I think when you make the 2D profile, the triangle, circle, and rectangular, firstly you tap the start point and then draw the end point. And then some guys want to specify the exact length, like that I just draw the first point and draw end point, but it's different. It is, for example, is 8 millimeter, but I want to draw the 2 millimeter. So at that time, I think every team want. I think it is additional features provide the modification method, slide or type some numbers.
Yes, we
like
should.
that.
We should have that. We should have. We should be able to do that.
Thank you.
All right. Similar comments to previous team. User interface is important for smartphone.
Yes,
Because it is very small.
Yes.
So one idea can be using voice recognition. AI helping your model, right? I don't know. All right. Thank you very much. continue your energy up to end of semester. Right. See you on Thursday evening, right? Thursday evening.
The Thursday, the 6 o'clock, right?
7.
7 o'clock.
7.